stand here with your back to the gong. Just a little bit further out, just right there will do. Standing this close to the gong, this is going to basically vibrate every organ in your body. So if you have any sort of toxins that need to be released, plenty of water afterwards.
Fantastic, thank you. So welcome Todd, and welcome everybody, and nice to see some new faces at Truth Juice in Hull again, and we're really delighted that Todd's come across today. He came across on a 5-hour journey with his wife Sky today, so thank you ever so much for making this journey. Todd has been exploring consciousness through expanded states of awareness for more than a decade, including 5 years through the out-of-body state, and he regularly talks about at seminars, workshops on this subject. So I saw Todd about 3 years ago and saw one of his videos, and that's why he's here today, because I was fascinated by this subject. So I'm pretty sure you're going to have a wonderful, entertaining evening, and you're going to learn something new about yourselves, about synchronicity, about sound, etc. So really looking forward to this, so thank you very much. Just before we start this talk, just if I could let everybody know about up-and-coming events in the next few weeks. We have Ian Crane here on the 23rd, and he's literally talking about something called Shemitah, and then the Shemitah is actually on that day, and it's how this specific time it actually affects world events and lots of things, and what it's talking about is how we can change these events. And the title of that talk is called The Beginning is Nigh. On Wednesday, October the 21st, we have open mic night. We actually missed the week before that because it's Hull Fair, so we can't have this venue. Then, so if anybody wants to talk at open mic night, if you've got a subject of interest that you want to share with everybody, it's a truth subject that maybe the mainstream doesn't talk about, please feel free to come and talk up here and just share your knowledge and experience with everybody. On Wednesday, the November the 4th, we have Larry Warren, put my teeth in, and it's about the Rendlesham Forest UFO experience. He's a real UFO experiencer, he's written books on it, world famous, and this is going to be very, very interesting. And then Wednesday, November the 18th, Bill Tucker, and it's on German New Medicine. So I wanted to say thank you as well to the steering group, because these speakers were suggested by our steering group, and we've collectively worked together, and Catherine as well for your wonderful effort in getting all these speakers that you do so well. So without further ado, can you please give a warm welcome to Todd? Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes. Well, I really appreciate the warm welcome, and for Joe inviting me up to give a talk. I really appreciate that. I grew up in Florida. I've been living in London for the last 22 years of my life. I now live on a houseboat in Bedford, and just really enjoy, this is my home now. All right. How's that? Is that better? Yeah? Okay. Usually I don't need mics, I kind of just boom out over the room. But yeah, so thank you very much for inviting me to speak. First thing I'd like to say actually is I'm not here to, if you like, convince you of anything. This is my own journey, and I'm here to share my own journey. So if something doesn't resonate with you, no need to get too upset about it. Just let it go. We don't have to share the same belief systems. I know society can sometimes train us to be fearful of someone else's beliefs, and it gets us into a lot of trouble. So all I'm asking for tonight is some open-mindedness and see where that takes us. So my talk is on synchronicity. I have a lot of experience with synchronicity. It's something that I started to explore as a teenager when I hitchhiked across America, all the way from Florida to Alaska, between New York and California, Mexico, Canada, the Caribbean, parts of Europe, most of the United Kingdom. It's something I really enjoy, and I find that I can meet a lot of new people, have a lot of great experiences, and if I can get into a state of non-resistance, I can have a lot of fun. The whole idea behind synchronicity, from my perspective, first of all, if you're not too familiar with the subject of synchronicity, it's a phenomena which is basically meaningful coincidence. So we have coincidences in life. We say things like, oh, that's a bit of a coincidence. But a meaningful coincidence is when it actually, we can't really detect the cause. We don't know why it happens. But it has meaning to us as an individual. And I find that really fascinating. And I'm sure you've all had synchronicities in your life. And I think as I speak tonight, it'll get more and more clear. Now, synchronicity, to me, on a very basic level, has the ability to really ground us into the present moment, to get our attention, to wake us up. And I think that's very important in this day and age with mass media, which is pretty much a device which can hypnotize us, collectively and set us into a collective trance, where we don't think too much outside the box, or we don't go too much against the norm of society. But to me, the norm is not natural. What we have come to see as normal is artificial. Who and what we really are is something much more natural than what a lot of the behaviors that society has taught us. So again, tonight, this is about an idea of exploring synchronicity, which is a very exotic phenomena of consciousness, which I think if we're open to it, if we get into a state of non-resistance, if we can get into a playful state, then it can show us stuff. It can start to break that collective trance that we've all been sort of hypnotized into by pretty much everyone. It's not just governments and media. We pretty much are trained by our first and foremost by our parents to believe in certain ways. You think about your religious beliefs or your afterlife belief systems, your scientific belief systems, any belief that you hold personal to you. Maybe every now and again we have to take inventory of that and ask ourselves the question, when did I start believing this? At what age was it that I took this on board? Where did I get it from? Whose was it before it was mine? And I think synchronicity has that ability to open us up like a cosmic can opener, to show us, almost like it's a window that shows us behind the scenes. Because if you've ever wondered, like me, what is that unseen force that is not immediately apparent when things like synchronistic phenomena takes place? And I'll give you a really good example. As I put in the talk content that probably motivated you to be here tonight, I run a lot of synchronicity walks in cities around the UK. Because I'm based near London, we've run maybe a good 40 of those over the last few years. And I've got some particularly favorite experiences where when people come along on the night, I'll pretty much take maybe a leaflet and I'll post it in an alternative cafe somewhere, maybe in a spiritual bookshop, with a date, a time, and a place, and a little bit of a description. The description can be something like, follow your intuition on a synchronicity walk across London. Be prepared to be nudged at any given moment and be open to following your intuition. And then I'll, like I said, give a date and a time. And when people arrive, a lot of the people don't know each other. They don't know me. Some of the people do know me because I posted also in groups where we're familiar with each other. But one of the first questions people ask when they arrive is, okay, what's the plan? That's another thing we've been trained with. We want that certainty in life. Well, synchronicity doesn't play by human rules. It's not a human entity. It's not human consciousness. It's something more than that. And that's the thing I really love about it. It does not play by our human rules. So therefore, it does not play into our feelings of lack. It does not play into our feelings of limitation. These are all human, learned, phenomena, thoughts and feelings. With synchronicity, it's not something that requires a process. It's something that happens in an instant. And if we can really learn to deeply trust the guidance that is always there inside of us, you might feel it as just a little butterfly sensation in your stomach when somebody says something, or it might be the hairs standing up on your arm, when you hear somebody speak or somebody sing, and it just resonates as personal truth to you. That's powerful. That's a sign. That's a message. And if we can learn to follow these signposts, learn to listen to these messages, it can change our life. It can radically change our life for the better. It's just learning to deeply trust, to have the courage to trust this inner guidance and then take the action when you feel the action is appropriate to take. So for example, people, they show up, they ask the question, what's the plan? I say to them, there is no plan as such. We have a few guidelines. The guidelines such as we have dice. So we have 2 dice. Whenever we get to any sort of intersection, street corner, we roll the dice and we let the dice decide which direction we go. So there's 1 through 12. So we can nominate, if there's 4 directions, then this direction would be 1 through 3 on the dice. This would be 4 through 6, 7 through 9, and 10 through 12. We then roll the dice and it says 4 through 6. Then we go that direction that's nominated 4 through 6. And we leave it in the hands of chance all night long. At no point do we want to get in the way of this phenomena. So by having the dice, that's one mechanism to where we're removing ourselves from the equation in the sense of trying to control the outcome. If you can let go of the need to control the outcome, then that's where the real magic can happen. You can get into that flow state that people talk about. Another one of the guidelines that we have, I share with people, as I say, is we follow your intuition. Thirdly, don't second guess your intuition. How many times the very first thing that came to your mind in the end was the right thing to do, but you questioned yourself, you had doubt, and you did something else. You did something based on fear. And when you did that, it didn't work out so well. So I ask people on the night to follow their intuition and follow their first instinct. Because that usually, you can tell the difference between ego, between a fear-based reality and a love-based reality, a reality where you can trust those messages. The fearful one is usually something of very limitation in it. It kind of scares you, whereas something deeper, that essence of who and what we really are, starts to shine through, and it is a voice we can trust. It says things like, I know you can do this. It says things like, this is certainly a path to explore. It can be fun. Whereas the ego, the fear side of it, comes and says, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. So there's different messages that can come through, one from ego and one from who and what we really are beyond that false self. There's that true version of who we are that's kind of been repressed and dumbed down by this mass collective hypnosis that we've all been sort of subjected to for our lives. The next guideline, if you like, is to let go of any need whatsoever to control the outcome. And then finally, to be open to the phenomena in the first place. So to be open to experiencing synchronicities. So after that, usually about 20 of us is about the size of the group that usually winds up turning up, somewhere around those numbers. So the first thing we do is we take the dice. I nominate 2 people to be the die holders. So they hold the dice, 1 each, and whenever they're called upon, they come forward and they roll the dice together, and then that gives us direction. But at the very beginning of the night, we roll the dice to find our group number. So let's say, for example, we roll the number 6. Then what we would do is we would look out for occurrences of the number 6 as we're starting to walk. And I'll give you an example of that. On one particular night, we were in London, and our group number was the number 4. And it'd been about 20 minutes since we originally rolled the dice, and we were pretty much going on a straight path. And then we came to a point where we thought, okay, let's roll the dice again to get a new direction. We rolled the dice the second time, and we got the occurrence of number 4 again. So that itself was, showing it that it wants to repeat. It really wants us to keep an eye out for this. So we looked around for the number 4, the occurrence of number 4. Exactly where we were standing was the number 4 bus stop. Now, in London, like most cities, you'll have, the number 4 bus will be one bus that, one sort of bus route that goes through London. So we happened across, synchronized to be in the right place at the right time to roll the dice again and have the 4 bus stop. So I said to people, this is a powerful synchronicity. Maybe it's asking us to get on the bus. We all had our Oyster cards. And the moment I said that and people started to laugh, some of it was nervous, sort of doubt, you could hear people thinking in their minds, oh, but I live in Waterloo. What if this takes me all the way up to Houston, and then I have to make my way back at the end of the night? That's control. And that's the type of thing that we teach to learn to let go so you can experience these powerful phenomena. So anyhow, the moment I said, maybe it's asking us to get on the bus, the moment I said that, the number 4 bus came around the corner. And again, it was a perfect sign. It was a back-to-back synchronicity. So as we started to get on the bus, as I, being the last person to get on the bus, it started to rain. So it was another perfect example of good timing. It was almost to say, because we followed our instincts without doubting ourselves and we got on the bus, it was going to rain regardless. But because we trusted, it was perfectly synchronized. We're now on the bus and we're completely dry. So it was a perfect occurrence of synchronicity once again. So we got on the bus, and we rolled the dice again, and we got the number 9, and we decided, okay, we'll go 9 stops before we get off the bus. And again, you could feel the tension in some of the people who had never released all that, sort of control and just trusted that inner self. You could just feel the tension building, people once again thinking, okay, we started here, where are we going to end up? 9 stops, that seems a long way. It's trusting that everything's going to work out. It's trusting that there's a bigger part of you that has a bigger picture perspective of your life. And it can see that going 9 stops will be just the right amount of stops to show you something magical. So we trusted. We went 9 stops. As we were getting off the bus, it stopped raining. It was just perfection. When we all got off the bus, and I looked, and suddenly on the wall facing us as we got off the bus was a sign that read, "Wait here for further instructions." At that point, I think a lot of people let go of all their doubts. And they really could see the tension melting away. It was fun. It got to a point where we could see that synchronicity was there. It was highly present. It was something that you couldn't miss. It was very transparent. And so we waited faithfully there for a few minutes until this black cab drove up. Its passenger got out, and the driver just looked at us. About 20 people huddled next to this sign. And we sort of perfectly, like Moses, we all parted. And I pointed to the sign, and he kind of had a bit of a chuckle. And I said to him, look, we're not tourists. We don't want to go to Buckingham Palace. We're kind of on this random walk across London, and we're just having a bit of fun. I said, could you please just randomly choose a direction for us? Please don't put any thought into it. It has to just be your first instinct. And with that, he just sort of pointed backwards. And we followed it. For about 5 minutes, we followed the direction that he pointed. And suddenly we came to... There's these flats on the right-hand side of us, and on the top floor flat, just this thumping party music we could hear. And I said to the group, why don't we gate crash the party? And again, people were like, all the social rules would say, no, we can't do that sort of thing. But it's trusting the instincts, and I've learned over the years to deeply trust mine. And if suddenly I had the feeling that it would be okay to do this, then I let the group know. And the moment I said that, this guy came out of the pub across the road, and he steamed across the road, and he sort of stopped and he looked at us, and he was like, what are you guys up to? And I explained to him that we're on the synchronicity walk, we're just, having a bit of fun, just in free flow, and we heard all this music, and we thought we'd gate crash the party. He was like, no way, man! He was like, my mates just bet me I wouldn't gate crash that party. And he used exactly the same words that I'd used a moment before. So once again, it was perfectly synchronized, it was perfectly timed. If we'd have been just 5 minutes longer in getting there, or even just 10 seconds, he would have steamed on through and we would have had no interaction with him whatsoever. It was perfectly timed. So this is the kind of thing when you really release that control, that deep need to sort of control every aspect of the journey and trust that something else can show you something more than you could ever have imagined. That's, again, when the real magic happens. So now, 20 plus this one person, we started going up the stairs, we buzzed our way in, we got upstairs to the top flat, we pushed the button, the guy opened the door, I kid you not, he had a marijuana smoking in hand, and he was like, what's up? And I explained to him, we're just on the synchronicity walk, we're having a bit of fun, we led us to your flat, the synchronicity gods told us to come here, and he was just like, come in, come on! And we all decided we had a bit of a party. So, and that's the kind of thing that can be experienced when we really deeply, truly decide, hey, you know what? For my whole life I've been a scared human being. For my whole life I felt little. For my whole life I felt lonely. For my whole life I felt out of control, things are outside of my control. For my whole life, I haven't felt like I was part of something bigger. And here these people are experiencing things like this. And I kid you not, that's a big synchronicity, what we experienced. But we experience back-to-back synchronicities like that in pretty much every synchronicity walk. I remember this other synchronicity walk a couple months from that one. Another group of people, maybe a few people from the previous walk who were thinking, you know what, this is great, I'm going to do this again. So you get the veterans who come back again and again because they get to meet like-minded people and they get to have fun new experiences on a basic level. Even if not much happens, we get to see parts of London that most people would never see. We even go into dark alleyways and we don't care because there's 20 of us, who's going to mess with us? And you never know where that dark alley might lead, and on this occasion it led somewhere. So, new group of people, we'd roll the dice several times, our number for the night was number 2. And we're at this one point, it was one of the big squares in London, and I asked one of the women to use her umbrella as a way to guide us to the next direction. So I asked her to come forward, to close her eyes, to hold the umbrella out straight, to point it, close her eyes and to spin like a top. And that when it felt right to her, she'd stop. And whatever direction the umbrella was pointing, that was the direction we'd go. So she spun for about 30 seconds, and then she stopped, and she was pointing off in this sort of diagonal direction across the square, and there was a street on the opposite corner. And she's holding this up, and this guy, at the exact moment, in a business suit, comes out of this building, out of this sort of commercial offices, steams out of there, and he sets off in the exact direction that she's pointing. So I said to everybody, follow him. And so we're all following this guy. He didn't turn around and see us following him, but that in itself would be curious if anyone ever did. So anyhow, so he's wandering along, and he's got quite a fast pace. He's going somewhere. So we thought, okay, we'll go with him. And so we're traveling behind him, and we were with him for a good 5 minutes, turning this way, turning that way. He led us to the corner of Oxford Street and Regent Street in London, and he went down into the underground. And it suddenly felt right that he was like the white rabbit, leading us down the rabbit hole. And I thought, okay, he's gone down that hole, but this isn't just a rabbit hole, this is a rabbit warren. It's a series of holes. So I thought, this is where he was meant to drop us. So we stopped. And I said, okay, why don't we roll the dice again? We rolled the dice again, and again, on that particular night, we got a second occurrence of the number 2. So I said, okay, look around. The universe wants us to see the number 2. The moment I said the universe wants us to see the number 2, the number C2 bus went right by. People were just mouths, sort of gaping open because it was such a powerful, perfectly timed event. And so we're looking around and we're not quite seeing any occurrence of the number 2. And then suddenly one of this, 15 or 20 people, whatever, I think it was 18 people on that occasion, this one girl walked up to me and said, there's 2 women over there standing on their own talking to each other. And instantly I thought, perfect. So we all went over and we surrounded them. And, they were looking very nervous. And I said to them, I said, look, we're not going to bother you. We're not here to sort of disturb you very much. Please, excuse the interruption. But we're on this thing called a synchronicity walk. We're just having a bit of fun, wandering around randomly from place to place. Would you mind giving us some direction? If you don't mind, please just make it your first instinct. Again, we're not trying to go to any touristy sites. Can you just point out random direction? She looked around for a moment, and I thought she was going to choose one of the main streets, like Oxford Street, which was intersecting parallel to us. And then suddenly she pointed, and there was this alleyway, maybe about 50 meters away from us. And so we thanked them. We crossed the road. We made our way over to that point. And on the corner of one of the buildings was the building number, which was 222. She pointed us perfectly in that direction. We were standing there just sort of reveling in all the synchronicity when suddenly this guy comes running out of something like H&M, some sort of shop, high speed, bolting down the road. And then these 2 security guards come chasing after him. And I was like, follow them. And we started to follow them. There was a few people in the group that couldn't quite keep up, so we didn't follow them for very long. But once again, it sort of just gave us a mechanism to lose all sense of control. Because at any point, if you start, getting to where you think nothing's happening, you might suddenly feel the urge to get out of the flow and start to force the direction. So the idea behind simple directional changes like that is you leave it into the hands of the universe, because at any given moment, something like a shoplifter running out of the building, followed by security guards, can be the perfect opportunity to get further lost down the rabbit hole and let go of that little bit more control. So we did that. We followed him for a little point until it was, we felt, okay, we'll stop here. Some of the group can't keep up. And that too is probably perfect. If there was anybody in the group suddenly thinking, I wish we'd lose these two slow folk. No, everybody played their role. By them slowing us down just that little bit was probably just enough to experience the next set of synchronicities. So we were suddenly in sort of Soho, soon after that, and we were wandering around, and we walked into this shop where they sold fortune cookies, and everybody bought themselves like a 20p fortune cookie. And we came out, and almost everybody's fortune cookie was perfect for them as an individual. And again, it got that excitement really building. Everybody was just full of enthusiasm and curiosity as to where this can go. A couple more rolls of the dice, and we usually do this for about an hour and a half. So we start at 7 o'clock, we usually end around 8:30. And I remember on that night, it was just coming to the end of the night. It was about 8:25. And suddenly the dice led us down into this alleyway, which was a dead end. Seemingly a dead end. And this is the thing I love about synchronicity. There's an aspect to synchronicity which you could consider like a trickster. It has a trickster aspect. The trickster aspect of synchronicity provides that bit of a twist. When we're taking ourselves too seriously, when we're not willing to laugh at ourselves, again, synchronicity doesn't play by human rules. So we're now standing there in this alleyway, which is a dead end, very clearly. But it wasn't your typical sort of alleyway. It was a bit more opened up. And there was a residential block, and there was an entrance to these flats. And everybody's now like, oh, this is a bit of, anticlimax. It was such a fun night, and we're leaving it on this note, a dead end. And I said to people, no, it's never a dead end. Again, that's just what our mind is trained to see. And this is sometimes why we have to get past that conditioning of the mind to be able to see something more. So I said to everybody, okay, let's just look around us for the occurrence of number 2. See if there's a newspaper we can find on the ground, look at page 2, see what's on it. Let's find inspiration. And then I walked over, and it was right there in front of us, number 2 flat. And I thought, I just got to push the button. There's a door. We don't know where this door will take us. So I pushed the button, 10 seconds, nothing happened. I pushed it again, and this wee little voice, hello? I was like, yes. Hi, we're wandering across London. There's about 18 of us, and we've been rolling dice, and the dice led us here. And there you go. And he said, well, come on up. And he literally, he buzzed us in, and all 18 of us are all filing, they're filing past me. I'm holding the door, and then this other guy walks up who lived there, and he goes, where are you guys off to? I said, well, the guy in such and such, number 2 flat, just invited us up. We just pushed the bell. He doesn't know us. He goes, well, I don't know him either. I've just moved here 2 weeks ago. I don't know any of my name.